this week. We're keeping things a little more mellow this time around. I'm moving this week, and it's crazy, so it's this week and next week. It's kind of a big thing. But I do want to sort of point out that the next few weeks I will be focusing pretty hard on trying to get interviews with candidates who are currently in their general election phase. So we'll get back to some more local stuff soon. Next week, that'll all kick back in. I've got some stuff that I'm going to have lined up. But for today, what's going to happen is Jonah is with me. What's going on, Jonah?
Hey, Kirk. How's it going?
Oh, it's pretty good. You know, just chilling. You know, the world is burning.
As good as can be, right?
Yeah. You know, it's we're out here living. And man, so basically, like, in slightly different fashion to the regular show, we're gonna spend most of today talking about like a more national thing, and specifically the debate. And like, I think for the sake of brevity, we're not going to talk about the whole thing, because why would we do that? It was literally the worst debate in history, like hands down. Jonah, I'm sure you've experienced better debates in like a freshman English class than that.
I don't know. I think it was pretty comparable to a freshman English class debate, which says a lot about what's going on right now.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, definitely. I mean, I've seen a lot of debates, almost all of the presidential debates, because I'm a nerd in that way. I like to watch those presidential debates. This was hard to watch. Yeah. I definitely cried a couple of times. I laughed a couple of times. There was a mix of emotions for sure. You know?
Yeah, man. No, I hear you. So, I mean, like, I think the big thing is, like, we can talk about, like there's a million issues in it, but, like, be it that this is, like, a show for the left, what we're focusing on here is the problems that we should be very, very conscious of as a like left movement that excludes the center left. How worried we should be about our future, like as like in terms of staying alive, like actually not getting killed, and you know, making me question the safety of doing this show on a regular basis. But at any rate, what this is going to be primarily focused on the topic of discussion surrounding like Antifa and the way that that Trump specifically was essentially inciting political violence in the debate. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off, we're going to watch this clip. I will probably pull a Sam Cedar and pause it, but realistically, I'm going to try and let it run as much as I can. And we'll sort of, you know, we'll just go from there, man. Oh, this is going to be such a mess.
Straight days of protests, which I think you would agree, you talk about peaceful protests, many of those turned into riots. Mr. Vice President, you say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is, as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I love how he asks that like Biden has any authority at all.
Right.
Vice President.
You as the Democratic nominee
was
stuck
clear in my public statements.
Like, he used to be the vice president. Now he's just some fucking guy.
You've never called for the people, the leader. Excuse me, sir. You have never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to bring in the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Really? Here's the thing.
I sent in the U.S. Marshals to get the killer of the young man in the middle of the street. They shot him, and for 3 days,
President Trump,
Portland wouldn't do anything. I had to send in the U.S. Marshals. They took care of business.
Go ahead, sir.
And by the way, you know, his own former spokesperson said You know, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said that.
She said that. And so here's the
all right.
But here's the point.
Go ahead,
the point
sir.
is that that's what he is, keeps trying to rile everything up. He doesn't want to calm things down. Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly, and every single solitary time.
Okay, and to end this, button up this segment, I'm going to give you a minute to answer, sir. You have repeatedly criticized...
I have to answer.
You know what kills me about that is it like Biden is such a bad debater.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
that's because he's not wrong, but it's the most flimsy way to propose that, because he does absolutely nothing to substantiate what he means by pouring gas on the fire. Right. That's literally, I mean, in a lot of ways, that's what this whole episode is meant to do. But the problem is that this is what we put up there? Really?
That's what I was thinking the whole night. I mean, it's just the whole night. It was just bad optics, and him. It was obvious to anyone watching who knows what the preparation for a debate would be. It's obvious that he was just remembering talking points, grasping to remember the talking points that they gave him in preparation for debate, and not using any of the given opportunities that Trump gave to him, the clear opportunities that Trump gave to him to shut him down, have a good debate moment, get that 20-second soundbite where it's just you get to shut him down. He took almost none of those opportunities. He was like, well, shut up, man. And then Trump rolled over him, kept talking, or you clown, I mean person. And then he just keeps talking. And then it's that for me, what was hard to, that's what made it hard to watch.
Yeah.
You go into the debate, you want it to be entertaining. 2012, Joe Biden shuts Trump down. He gets agitated, but in a good Uncle Joe kind of way. That's not what we saw, and it was just I'm sorry, I don't think. Here's the thing. I don't think this has. I want to be clear. I don't think this has anything to do with his stutter. I think this has to do with him getting old. He just takes a long time to get to an idea. He takes too long. There's no. He's always kind of tripping over himself to find the right wording. And I appreciate that he feels things, but he has absolutely no idea how to translate that idea into language in a way that's going to be effective in this context. And he kind of never has, but it's just it's just exhausting. It's so obvious and so just in front of us now. At least he can sort of walk it back, and there was moments where he would do that in his younger days when he was vice president or something like that, but now it's just all he does, and you're right, it's just beyond exhausting. It's frustrating. I think anyone who supports Joe Biden and doesn't think that's frustrating, that's pretty scary, because you have to be honest about what your candidate is doing. If you have to if we critiqued our candidate in the right way, if news media was Joe Biden should do XYZ, I think his campaign would probably have to react to that. But since nobody is doing that, since everybody is just Biden, we'll ask him a couple of questions. The Biden campaign is the Biden campaign.
Yeah, well, and I think there is a certain reality to there's no moving Biden. Everybody wants to talk about Biden like he's FDR or something. Biden's not FDR. He's not gonna move. He's not gonna go left. He spent how much of the very beginning of this debate basically saying, I'm not gonna listen to the left at all. They're not. Right. They aren't the party. I'm the party. You know what?
I won. Yeah.
It's just
saying Amy Coney Barrett is a fine person or something like that. Saying I have no quarrels with her as a person. I just think that we shouldn't do this nomination right now, even though there are many. Why you would call Amy Coney Barrett a fine person, that I don't know, but you just kind of gave them a check to confirm her.
And that's the guy that we are like apparently supporting. So let's see what the dude that we are not supporting has to say about this crap.
This is
so bad.
You've been talking back and forth.
Statement.
I'm asking you.
I would love to end it.
Sir.
I would love to end it.
You know, if you want to switch seats,
we could very quickly.
We could do that. But
I'd send in the National Guard. It would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay.
But they don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm
prepared
willing to do
specifically
that, but
do it? Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Okay, hold on a second. So
his own FBI contradicts that.
Right. So there's a couple things here. Like, first off, people might jump at me for this because I think there's like, they'll say that I'm pulling this out of context. But I don't know that it's entirely inappropriate to place it within this context. Like, it is somewhat out of context, but I want people to consider the possibility of a different context. What am I getting at? He just said, I'm willing to do anything. Like, he just said that word. Now, it's within the context of, getting everybody to, get off his back, right? We should never, ever have any space in our discourse for any politician to say the words, I will do anything, quote unquote, ever. We should never find any acceptable space for those to be words that we don't interrogate viciously afterwards. Because what the hell does anything mean? In this context, my thought is that Trump is, as we all know, Trump wants to have the appeasement. He wants to be applauded, right? It's what do you, I will do anything to get you off my back about this whole racist thing, right? But the reality is, he's just trying to refocus it in the context of, all I mostly see is from the left. And it's like, okay, well then what does I will do anything in this context mean? Because when he says that back to back, right, within the context of Ken Klippenstein's reporting, which I'll actually throw up right now. Can't quite see it on the, I'll break my rules here for a minute and I'll destroy my formatting on the stream here. But so the original tweet from Ken was, yesterday as Trump refused to condemn far-right violence, the FBI quietly issued a warning about the threat of far-right extremists. Per intel report leaked to me, identifies the period between presidential election and inauguration as a flashpoint. So, that's Trump is not listening to his own FBI. He's not listening to his own FBI, and he's using the words, I'll do anything, right? These are two, first off, if you're not going to listen to a law enforcement arm, or you're not even going to engage with the law enforcement arm of the country, how do you plan on enforcing things? Let's find out. Let's find out right now. Let's find out.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
who would
right
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what.
That's who.
He was going to say stand down. You can see that he was just kind of going to go say stand down. He has to stop himself. And then I feel like there's a thought process that happens there that you see when he kind of like messes up when he's saying stand down or stand by or whatever he said originally. He says stand by, stand down or whatever. Like yeah, play it again for a second.
Like me to condemn
white supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what.
He's gonna say stand down. He
Somebody's
says stand back.
Do something about Antifa and the left, because
it goes back to what you're saying. He's not listening to his own FBI. I think he is listening to his own FBI. I think there's a strategy here, and like, I don't necessarily know what it is.
Well, yeah, but, no. So what I think, so I think in a sense you're right. I think he is listening to his own FBI, but I think the point is that he's not going to do anything with that FBI because he's not interested.
Because the flashpoint helps him, I think he sees.
Not only that, but he knows that he has his army separately. Why would he need that when he has Proud Boys, when he has Boogaloo Boys? Like, there's no, like, there is absolutely no universe in which the Trump campaign, the Trump White House is not aware of, in an incredibly granular way, what's up with all these groups. Like, you and I are sitting here in fucking Peterborough, New Hampshire. We're just two random dudes. You know, like I work at a local nonprofit. You're still going to high school. Like, we know this crap.
Right.
Like, this information is widely accessible to us. We have no, like, credentials. We have no security clearance. We don't have shit. And we know this stuff. So I cannot imagine a universe in which his teams are not totally cognizant of all of these things, right? If that's the case, and he's saying the FBI is out to get me, blah, 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 like, they are obligated to continue funneling him information. So he's sitting there, he's like, great, thanks for all of the data, guys. Like, but screw off. Like, I hate you. I don't want anything to do with you because there's still some sort of vestige of, like, American accountability in there, as opposed to just like blind allegiance to Trump. So I think there's an awareness. Like, Stephen Miller is like, just like, Stephen Miller was jerking off to this part. Like, this is so planned out. This is so planned out. Like, and Trump might not even be totally aware of what he's doing, but make no mistake,
the team around him is.
Exactly. Sure. Exactly.
And that's been the scary thing about it the whole time, is he puts evil, truly evil people around himself. Steve Bannon is someone who has talked about, like, dismantling the left around the world and has actively worked towards that effort and bringing forth an authoritarian right-wing state in Europe and the United States and across the world. That is his strategy, and he said that on, like, Vice, and he was allowed to be, what was it, top advisor, like chief advisor or something like that to the president, some ridiculous position where he could just be close to Trump.
Strategist, I can't. Yeah,
chief strategist, chief strategist. That's what it was. That's terrifying. Steve Bannon was the chief strategist of the White House for however long he was. He was in the White House since the campaign, and then he got knocked off.
I can't remember if he made it all the way through.
People.
Like,
these people are hell-bent on authority. I think that they are hell-bent on authoritarian state, and I think that they're going to use this election and that flashpoint to trigger that authoritarian state, and that is, like.
Yeah, that lame duck period.
It's about, like, is the country going to be, as secure as it is right now next year?
Right. And I think, and so something that I want, any viewers of this show to watch is, like, or watch out for, really, or be aware of, things to consider is, like, okay, like, in a more local sense, like, we're here in rural New England, but I also I was driving through the intersection in town today. For anybody who's never been to Peterborough, New Hampshire before, we have, like, one intersection. I think we have two. Technically, they added a third, and people are pissed about it. But traffic lights, like 3 intersection town. One of them is a jug handle, which I don't know where the hell else you find jug handles. Like people don't make them because they're ridiculous. But at the traffic light. The 4-way traffic light in town, the intersection of 101 and 202. Somebody owns a building that I guess nobody's living in right now, and that person apparently supports Donald Trump because the entire building is just like boarded up with Trump signs. Like, I mean, full tilt. Now, the reason I bring this up is because people are... the Boogaloo people, the Proud Boys people, like, make no mistake, there are plenty of them here in this town, which is an incredibly liberal town, but they're everywhere.
Oh yeah. You talk to the people at the pro-police rally.
Exactly.
Like, not all. I'm not, again, definitely not generalizing all of them. There are some. I know some of the people there, and they can have their beliefs, whatever. But there are some of those people there. They're the Proud Boys. They're Boogaloo people, and they look at you with contempt or discontent and hatred. When you just look them in the eyes, and you're like, "Oh, hi." They're like, and you're like, "Oh, I don't even need to talk to you. I see the patch." Like,
right.
You're like,
exactly.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Exactly. And for
they're ready to rise up at any moment.
That's it. Is that they are sitting there awaiting their cue. Like what Trump just said right there, the stand back, stand by thing. Is, oh, well, whatever. He's not saying no. Trump is absolutely inciting them. And here's your evidence. Within 20 minutes?
I saw that on Twitter within minutes of him saying that.
Minutes of him saying that, somebody had already photoshopped a logo together. Right? That is absolutely the level to which these people are listening. Well, the level to which they're paying attention. So we brought up a couple different things here at varying levels of centralization, right? Like Proud Boys as an organization is very centralized. Boogaloo, no. Boogaloo movement is not centralized by, like, I would not refer to that as a centralized movement. That's mostly just a bunch of dudes that love their guns and their Monster Energy drinks and their, and their Hawaiian shirts. But they all share a similar ideology. So, but there's a certain common thread here of sort of extra governmental right-wing organizations that are incredibly supportive of the president. So part of what we're like, the context for the basic the overall message of this episode, which is essentially watch your ass. I wish that it was a little nicer than that, but that's all I got today, folks. Sorry. I just want people to be thinking about these types of right-wing organizations and the ways in which they collaborate. I think it's something that is, if you follow along with the internet a bunch, and specifically the Twitter world, it's a little easier to see. But again, I know, like, another part of the reason we do this is because I know that there are people who watch this that pay absolutely zero attention to Twitter, like zero attention to political Twitter. And unfortunately, there's a lot of like pretty obvious red flags that are showing up in that digital space right now. So this is, friggin' that shit is really bad. And speaking of Trump adjacent right-wing organizations, let's check in on PragerU, shall we? So, what's PragerU up to right now? Oh yeah, that's right. They're sharing Tulsi Gabbard. Great. Just like I don't. Here we go. I'm gonna play this for a minute. This is gonna get a little tangential, folks. Bear with us.
It is critical to remember that the strength of our democracy lies in the integrity of our elections, that every one of us has to have faith that our vote will count. But right now, there are still many states in our country that allow for something called ballot harvesting. This is a system that allows for third parties to collect and deliver ballots for other people, potentially large numbers of people. Unfortunately, ballot harvesting has allowed for fraud and abuse to occur by those who could tamper with or discard ballots to try to sway an election for or against a certain candidate or party. Now, our vote is our voice. So whether in the midst of a pandemic, as we are now, where mail-in voting is likely to drastically increase, or even in a normal election, no one should get in between a voter and the ballot box. Now, while some states have prohibited vote harvesting or ballot harvesting, many have not, which again allows for abuse from third parties collecting and mishandling ballots. This is something that we've actually seen happen in recent elections.
In 2016,
Okay, I'm not going to listen to the remaining PragerU bullshit because it's PragerU bullshit. We'll get to that one in a minute. But I okay, so few things to unpack here. For those of you who don't know who PragerU is, Prager is Dennis Prager's little project. It's sort of like a thing that was born of the IDW, regularly hosting voices and advocating for same sort of political environment that the Weinstein brothers do, not like Harvey Weinstein, but like Eric and the other one. They're both dumb. Are you muted? Somehow.
Oh, oops.
There we go. Okay. All right. I was like, oh no.
Is it Ben Weinstein? Is that what it is? I don't know. I actually don't know. I've seen some of their podcasts, but I don't know. I don't like them.
they're dumb. They're really dumb. So, yeah. But like, it's like Charlie Kirk. If you know who Charlie Kirk is, Turning Points USA. He's I'm not sure if they've teamed up with Ben Shapiro at all. I would imagine they have.
I think there's some conflict there. I'm pretty sure there is. Because there's the Daily Wire, as I understand it, there's the Daily Wire crowd, which has sort of separated itself from the other conservative crowd. And then there's like the Nick Fuentes crowd. Those
okay.
Those three. And then
so I guess think of PragerU sort of in the pantheon of right-wing knobhead think tank propaganda groups. They up there with Glenn Beck and the Blaze and all that shit. So anyways, to see Tulsi Gabbard appearing in a PragerU video is not good. And I feel like I called this a while ago. I think we're probably I with something like this, I wouldn't honestly be surprised if we see a 3-way duke out in the 2024 primary for the Republican candidacy between Nikki Haley, Tulsi Gabbard, and Kristi Noem. That would be I would put down. I don't know, man. I
You don't think there's going to be a Trump in there somewhere? Some kind of.
No. Because here's the thing. I think genuinely, they're past it. Strategic planning wise, they're past that point. Nikki Haley actually did an interview with New Hampshire Journal just recently, and they were talking about how Nikki Haley was coming to New Hampshire, and they're doing all this super early we're talking 4 years ahead of time. She's already coming here trying to like build relationships and plant seeds. Like, you don't do that unless you're plotting some sort of trajectory, especially when she's setting up events that have like, it's like, oh, we're going to do local council members and we're also going to have Kelly Ayotte. Like, they are in sync. They are like together from the bottom all the way to the top. They know what they're doing. Like, their strategy is long form. Like, that might be a more establishment run, but I think you'll see similar echoes of that, like surging up behind like Tulsi and Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem's gonna pull the more libertarian ones. You know what I mean? Like, that's gonna be, so it's like I'm interested to see them try to create shades of gray within like the Trump world. You know what I mean? Like, that's gonna be interesting.
The post-Trump world. That'll be very interesting.
Right. I think it's gonna be a little wild. So I'm
Ted
curious.
Cruz just pops in out of nowhere just because.
Yeah. I mean,
he'll be the next majority leader after McConnell passes.
Fuck, I don't know, man. It's gonna be. I don't even want to think about it yet. Like, as
I know,
much as I would like
thinking about future American electoral politics, just don't,
just get out of here.
Not a good idea.
Right, but like, okay, so to bring this background, so we've got Tulsi on here, and she's being shared by PragerU. Well, like, what? Okay, why the hell is Tulsi being shared by PragerU? Well, she's talking about, like, she's talking about ballot harvesting, and Tulsi would have absolutely no reason to talk about ballot harvesting right now were it not for the Project Veritas video, which just came out accusing Ilhan Omar of harvesting ballots. So that sort of brings us to the next set of questions. Who is Project Veritas, first off? Well, Project Veritas is a very incredibly right-wing, like far-right propaganda network. They've done all these like expose videos where they send, like, they will, I guess, like embed or like, proceed, like presumably like embed somebody in anti-fascist movement, or like, do undercover work with hidden cameras in states where it's legal to out left campaigns for engaging in nefarious behavior, which oftentimes they're, it's, if they do get it, it's usually just like one like wacky person, and that's just their ideas, and they're trying to paint the entire movement with this one person, or in this instance it's just straight up completely infactual. And I'm not gonna waste our time with the video. I think that's a terrible idea.
I just watched it. It's terrible.
Yeah,
it's not worth anyone's time. Don't even search it out.
yeah, don't do it. But what I will do, is we will put this up, which is sort of the follow-up article explaining, this is on New York Times. I will put a link down bottom, but sincerest apologies to anybody who does not have a Times subscription. That's part of the reason we're just, I'm literally gonna like read the dang thing here and now. So all right, trying to think where to start, because like, for anybody who wants, you can go back, you can read this on the screen. I'll make sure that it is large enough that at a full screen size you will be able to actually read this. So fuck you, New York Times.
Free press.
Yeah, to get, if you've got it, share it, right? Like, so basically, this article is primarily about how researchers at Stanford have identified that a video that was just recently released by Project Veritas, accusing Ilhan Omar of having essentially ordered people to commit acts of ballot harvesting. These researchers at Stanford have discerned that this was actually a very organized, concerted attack, like very, very strategically, considered and developed and coordinated and rolled out. And so I will just get into this here. Mr. O'Keefe and his group Project Veritas appear to have made an abrupt decision to release the video sooner than planned after the New York Times published a sweeping investigation of President Trump's taxes, the researchers said. They also noted that the timing and metadata of a Twitter post in which Mr. Trump's son shared the video suggested that he might have known about it in advance. Project Veritas had hyped the video on social media for several days before publishing it. In posts amplified by other prominent conservative accounts, Mr. O'Keefe teased what he said was evidence of voter fraud and urged people to sign up at ballot-harvesting.com to receive the supposed evidence when it came out. Parentheses, none of the material in the video actually proved voter fraud. Mr. O'Keefe's promotional post had said that the video would be released on Monday, but Project Veritas released it on Sunday instead, a few hours after the publication of the Times investigation. The researchers concluded that this timing was unlikely to be a coincidence, quote, given the huge marketing about a 9/28 release date. They wrote in an analysis that Alex Stamos, who led the research team at the Stanford Internet Observatory, shared with the Times. Quote, it's a great example of what a coordinated disinformation campaign looks like. Preceding the ground, then simultaneously hitting from a bunch of different accounts at once, Mr. Stamos said. Many of the same accounts that had shared the promotional tweets also shared this video as soon as it was released, moving it quickly into Twitter's trending topics alongside the Times tax investigation. So, basically, the whole point here is that this is another level of coordination between Trump, his campaign, his family, the White House, to work with these extra-governmental propaganda networks to continue to push and agitate, and like very specifically, like political violence type of evocation in the messaging. It does all connect back around, and there's different arms of it as well, right? So there's this whole thing that's happening inside of the Trump sphere, but then it's also important to consider that on the other end, you've got it in the public sphere influencing a candidate that had been trying to court right-wingers while also trying to appease the left in a great way, creating sort of like this new space within the left that's now sort of starting to feed back rightward more. And this can, in a sense, provide a vehicle by which, a Tulsi supporter in Minnesota who's feeling really disenfranchised might get drawn into the right wing and then do something inappropriate in that Minnesota environment. That's like an example. And I guess more broadly, I think like we on the left need to be we need to sweat this, is what I'm saying. We need to be sitting here and thinking about every single possible avenue in which these different groups can do these things. And we also need to become literate in these groups, right? Like, Jonah and I spend a decent amount of time paying attention to right-wing idiots online. Like, as much as I would not like to, there's a certain amount of entertainment in it, and like, you got to know your enemy,
Yeah, I mean, I find myself needing to pay attention to the Charlie Kirks and the, not so much the PragerUs, but like Charlie Kirk and all these other people that are just Steven Crowder absolute morons that, that are literally just pushing out propaganda funded by the Koch brothers. And, because it's getting on the screens of so many of largely young boys in my generation who are just scrolling through whatever and seeing a Charlie Kirk video that is an oversimplified explanation of whatever current event is going on. And then they're like, oh, that sounds like the truth. That sounds like some common sense right there. And then boom, they've got them hooked. They press follow on Charlie Kirk's page, and then they've got that person hooked. And, if you can't listen to Charlie Kirk, come up with an argument to counter the narrative that he's putting out, then you're going to lose all of those kids, all of those adults that are seeing a Charlie Kirk video, think it's common sense, and then won't listen to your argument otherwise if you can't strategize around that. And it's super dangerous to see, because at this point it's gotten so bad that you're seeing all these right-wing violence hotspots pop up across the country, as the FBI has pointed out.
Right.
That's largely younger people that are on the internet, radicalized by these people. They go out and then they kill somebody, and it's really scary to think about what the election is going to look like, because when you have a situation where there is no winner on election night, all of this coordinated campaign by the right, the Ilhan Omar video, the Tulsi Gabbard, all of it culminates in declaring Trump the victor on election night, because they're already saying that he's going to have the most votes on election night, because that's the in-person votes are going to come in first. It's going to look like Trump wins on election night, and then it could look like Biden wins in a week or two, or however long that process takes. As soon as Trump looks like the victor, they're going to announce that he's the winner of the election, and that whole and from there, that's the flashpoint. That's the trigger. That's when those Proud Boys need to stand up. That's when people need to come out of their houses. That's when fighting needs to start. Like in 2000, we saw protests in Florida over a law battle. Like, it's not going to be a law battle. Like, it's going to. I truly believe it is going to be a battle on the streets if what's seemingly going to happen now happens. I think it is going to be a battle on the streets. I think it is going to be like one of the worst situations that this country's ever faced. And, it's just now about strategizing how to deal with that potential, I guess. Like, how do you keep yourself safe in a situation where people are on the streets in major cities fighting each other because no one knows who wins. no one has. There's no clear winner of the election.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I think, I also would think, I'd go a step further and say, like, look, like, even at, like, let's say it comes in and it's a landslide for Biden, right? Like, it's gonna start that moment. Right. Like, it's the moment it happens, it's gonna start. You know what I mean? Like, and I think, we really genuinely are sitting on the edge of, I don't know that the country has been in this tumultuous of a state since, like, pre-Civil War, like that's how broken up we are right now. And, what, I guess, like, for my own part, like, every day I'm always trying to think, like, all right, how do we fix this shit? Like, right? Because, like,
what can we do?
Yeah, because what are we doing otherwise? We're just sitting here complaining about it. So, right. Like, I'm always thinking about, like, all right, like, what's the way to, like, what's the in? And I'm like, well, I guess we all have to. I feel like you got to start with, like, even knowing what your enemy is first, and I feel like a lot of people really don't quite know what the enemy is, and that's sort of like, where does that disinformation start? And, like, I really like, here's something to think about. Okay. The Project Veritas video itself. The only platform, there was only one platform that took that down. Every single other one left it up. I'll give you a guess as to which platform that was that took it down.
I can't guess which one. PragerU? I don't know.
No. Like, if
which like, social media platform?
Yeah. Which social media platform do you
Twitter?
think?
Was it Twitter? No.
Nope.
Facebook.
TikTok took it down.
Oh, TikTok. I was thinking I was going to ask Instagram. I was going to get, that wasn't even on my radar.
They all left it up. They all left the PragerU video up. Or not the PragerU video, sorry, the Project Veritas video.
Veritas video, yeah.
They all left that up. The only network that took it down was TikTok. So for anybody who wants to talk about how bad TikTok is, okay, they're the only ones that actually took down misinformation. Everybody else left it up. And the reason I point this out is because YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, if you go back to 2016 and you and even a little bit before that, and you have a look at like some of the, if you like, I can't believe I'm saying this. If you are a leftist and you are not aware of the voices that exist inside like right-wing YouTube and right-wing Twitch, go learn about that, because those people, like the Ben Shapiro's, the Sam Harris's, that like the people Michael Brooks writes about in his book, like the whole IDW kick, like all of these people that are like the I saw somewhere that like conservatives are like really obsessed with this idea of like the prodigal son, like this sharp young white man. Like they love this idea of like the sharp young, like clever, like snappily dressed young white man, like his nice suit and everything, like
talks fast,
Yeah, Greg Carter. So right? Like Chris Mademon. So I think like there's, if you wanna,
they see that as like the I forget his name. There's a 25-year-old running for Congress right now who just won his primary, I think, and he's a Republican. Mm-hmm. And I saw it on Snapchat or something like that, like some Snapchat news or whatever. And it was like, is this the guy who's going to make Republicans cool again? And he's just some blonde frat kid. I'm not going to characterize him as a frat kid. Actually, that was wrong. He's just.
I think I saw the article you're talking about. I think I know the article you're speaking about.
But he's exactly what you're talking about. He's that young, strapping conservative who can talk strong and plays a good game. And I think he was a Navy, or he was a veteran of some kind. And that's their playbook. And
of course, like
it works well. It works well, I guess.
Like of course,
if we don't have an equally as well-oiled playbook, we're gonna lose. If we're just constant, yeah.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Like it is completely absurd. And so I just like quickly before we move along, just so we all understand where Tulsi's at these days, just want to put this up here for everybody. For anybody listening, for anyone listening that's not looking at the screen right now, Tulsi posted on her Instagram, thanks at Instagram, now we can all be as cool as my friend at Dan Crenshaw TX. And it is a selfie that she has taken, and it has an eye patch over it. And she's sharing Dan Crenshaw's Twitter. Dan Crenshaw is horrible. Absolutely horrible, completely ridiculous. I don't have words, and I don't feel like explaining who Dan Crenshaw is to anybody. I think you can go look him up and you can learn plenty. I don't want to take any time to talk about him, but
he got famous off of SNL, which was great.
Yeah, like it's not good. So anyways, I just like, this is you left right now, guys. Seriously, just like, please be aware of those elements. Learn about your dark web folks. Learn about like your online right wing commentators, however stupid or shitty you might feel like they are.
You need to know what they're saying,
right? Because they are. I mean, and I think like both of us can speak to this. They are effectively like transitioning young people who are in a really tough mental space and dealing with a lot of challenges. They're just funneling them straight into the right wing, like
and that
right
into their trap, and that can be near impossible to get out of. And
And I want to be clear too that like Joe Rogan is not the only avenue in either. Like the algorithm itself does plenty of work to shove that crap in your face without Joe Rogan. Yeah. He may be an idiot and he may be a transphobe, but he also is not like, do not blame the entire dark web on Joe Rogan.
Because he is definitely not the start of the dark web.
Right.
He is, if anything, a consequence of the dark web. He's like the person that they all see themselves as almost, and they can all relate to Joe Rogan or something like that.
Exactly.
And they all just gravitate to him, but he's not talking about politics in any serious manner. And they go to these people like Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, these evil masterminds, these little like, they infuriate me, but they're like these little evil masterminds that just trick them into believing what they want them to believe.
Yeah, and part of it is, and we'll get into this, and like again, I know this is the much teased and long for the world's deep dive episode about tech and stuff like that, which we are absolutely getting there. But this is like this will sort of come up in that conversation a little bit more too, about how the right wing is really, really adept at using algorithm functions, because it's like in large part it also sort of plays into techno capitalism, something which like when you believe in the world that way, you're never critical of it, so you never feel any sort of like ethical compromise in the process. So that's part of the reason why the right wing is like super ace at this. But we'll talk about the sort of the more tech side of things there. But the one thing sort of from that New York Times piece about the Project Veritas video that I want to point out is that like that multi-tiered hyping process that they go through. Like I've done that with music production before, right? Like me and a bunch of my friends, like if we know an album is coming out, like we'll have a whole series of tweets that we set up ahead of time, in the days and weeks that precede it. And there's like, you have a marketing plan, like you have an entire marketing plan.
Yeah. Like that. It's like a fairly basic marketing strategy for anyone that's like 101 marketing or whatever. Like I'm not interested in marketing at all, and I know that's pretty clearly a marketing strategy.
But you don't have a marketing strategy with people that you aren't in contact with all the time. And I think the point here is to say that like Trump and his folks are absolutely in direct coordination with people like O'Keefe all the time. They're directly in coordination with people like Dennis Prager all the time. They're in direct coordination with, I would generally say, the Proud Boys all the time. Like if for anybody that's watching this that thinks that there is no sort of back channel between whatever Proud Boys leadership exists, and I know Gavin McInnes has tried to sort of like disavow it, but he created it, and he's like he's another piece of crap, another idiot piece of crap that you should know who he is if you don't know who he is. But like if you don't think that there's a back channel between Proud Boys and Stephen Miller, you're living in a fantasy world. I don't know how else to say that. I don't have a polite way to say that.
There is no polite way to say it. I mean, you gotta be real about what's going on here. Yeah. Alex Jones is a good example too. Like,
yes, Alex Jones is a
great
great
example. He's not
example.
on YouTube right now. He's still very much out there. He still very much has an audience. And
yeah, I mean, I think Jones has lost a little bit of his potency over the years.
I think that's definitely true, but there's still pretty crazy elements.
No, it's still trash.
Just all of it. I mean, the larger point is they all have those back channels exist to all of those popular media figures, and then
right.
they're right. And that same, I feel like that same coordination doesn't necessarily exist within the left space.
No, it doesn't. And that's sort of one of the other things is that, like, let's learn from it. Let's learn from our enemies right now at a time where we absolutely need to, like, step it up super hard. So not only that, to know exactly what they're wrong about so we can dismantle it, but also so that we know what they're right about so that we can take advantage of it and leverage it in the future. Within this thread, this is the last thing we'll do today. This is going to be a little bit more fun. And sort of, and I'm partially glad because we've been getting into the sort of the IDW and this whole IDW thing. And what we got here is we've got this wonderful fixture of IDW who they've tried very hard to excommunicate, but it's really tough because he works for, again, the Blaze. But here is Ideas Man himself, Dave Rubin, making a lovely guest appearance on Fox and Friends. And this was, I would encourage folks to watch the Majority Report takedown of this that happened earlier today, but I had a little bit that I wanted to add to it as well. So folks, let's have Dave Rubin explain Orwell to us. How about that?
Dave, when I was in school and taking my journalism classes, copy editing classes, we all had to buy this book. It's the AP style book. I've had this every single job I've gone on, and I have looked through it many times when you're trying to write a press release, or you're trying to write an article for a newspaper, or write a script. It teaches you when to capitalize words, when not to. It teaches you when to write out a number or when to use the numerical form. So the style book, the AP style book recently they tweeted out on Tuesday saying to use care when you're using the word riot. Opt for a milder word, maybe like unrest. They said that riot can have a negative racial connotation. And we remember a while back they said don't use illegal immigrant, use undocumented. What do you think about this recent advice?
The alien.
Well, I want to get this stylistically right. It's completely bananas. I mean, this is complete lunacy. I actually have the AP style book behind me here in my office as well. And I don't consider myself a journalist. I tell people what I think for a living. I don't consider myself a journalist. But this literally, and people often don't use the word literally correctly, this is literally George Orwell's 1984 newspeak, that we will change the meaning of words so that no one will ever be able to have a sensible conversation with anyone. We know what riots are. When you turn on the TV and you see some of the things I talked about earlier with Molotov cocktails and small businesses burning down and people assaulting people in their cars and blocking traffic and all of those things, those are riots. Why are they trying to change words? And they're trying to change words so that you can't calibrate. You won't be able to have a conversation with your neighbor because your language won't even be the same, and the more they can cut us off from each other, and this is by design, changing words. It starts with changing words, and next thing you know, you can't talk to other people, and you're paranoid, and the rest of it, and it's dangerous. This is really weird. These are the same people, by the way, who will tell you that violence is not violence, but somehow words are violence. It's all very confusing.
Dave, by the way, when you look,
I don't know how someone can say such idiotic things with such oomph. He's so confident in what he says.
Conviction.
It's ridiculous.
The utter conviction he's got. So okay, this is the one part when I listened to the Majority Report earlier, I was really hoping that they were going to talk about this, and no one quite got around to this point. But the fundamental problem here is that, like, Dave is misunderstanding what newspeak actually is when he's like, okay. In 1984, there's a conversation when he sits down. I can't remember the other character's name, but he's sitting down and they're talking about they're talking about developing newspeak. It's like he's talking to this guy who really loves newspeak and he loves the way it works. And he's sort of explaining the whole process, and it's about reducing the amount of words available to you, right? Like reducing the count of words that we use to describe things. Now, what Dave Rubin is pissed about is he's pissed that they're asking, they're policing the word, right? Well, what the AP is doing is they're doing the opposite of promoting newspeak, where they're saying what we want to do is we want to expand the number of words that we use to create better definition of things. The whole point of newspeak in 1984 is to reduce the number of possible meanings, so you reduce the framework of someone's mind to be able to consider possibilities outside of something, right? Like you don't have distinction between good and bad anymore. You have good and ungood, something like that, right? Like that is an example of newspeak. When you say, well, we want to make a distinction between riots and unrest, that's the opposite of newspeak.
Right.
Like to say we want to...
I bet on Dave has never even read 1984, actually.
That's basically what I'm starting to get to at this point, is that I don't think he even knows what this actually means. I wonder if he actually just knows it in its cultural zeitgeist form, because it has no, what he's saying literally indicates that he does not understand what Orwell was talking about, like at all. He has no concept. So, like, here's this Mr. Ideas, Mr. Dave Rubin Ideas.
We're gonna have a battle of ideas.
This is what I'm talking about with all these Molotov cocktails. Is
riot. I know what a riot is. I've been to many.
Like, dude, you need to up your reading comprehension, bro. This is unbelievable. Like, and it's maddening. It's maddening to me that, like, he's totally unaware of what he's saying. Like, he doesn't actually understand that, like, by saying, like, blocking traffic is not rioting. You like, he says in that video things like, burning buildings down or blocking traffic. Like, there's a huge difference between burning a building down and blocking traffic. Like blocking traffic that's not rioting. Like, right. I'm sorry, that's not rioting. You can have a peaceful protest and you can be blocking traffic and you're not rioting. So that's exactly what I mean by Dave is actually promoting newspeak. Like, he's actually advocating for, like, INGSOC principles here.
Why they let him on Fox,
And he's doing it on Fox News. That's the other thing. That's the other that's the part about this that really sucks, is that it'd be one thing if it was happening on Rubin Report, where, like, he says dumb stuff all the time, and, like, that's a smaller audience. But Fox and Friends, like, that's like millions of viewers. And what he just did is completely, like, he doesn't even know how stupid what he just said is, but a more expert propagandist would say that what he did there was actually kind of genius, right? Because what he's doing is he's completely, like, obfuscating what newspeak is.
Right.
And he's going to literally...
He's newspeaking the term newspeak.
Right. And, like... And this is the thing, is, like, we gotta be ready to rip this down every time and be like, look at this idiot. So this is the type of dumbassery that comes out of the intellectual dark web, the people that, like, these, Trump adjacent right-wing organizations, right? Whether it's Fox and Friends in a more, like, institutional manner, or it's, the Proud Boys, or PragerU, or Turning Points USA, or I don't fucking care. There's so many of them at this point. But the point being, you got to make fun of these people, and you got to know who they are. So everybody, please know who Dave Rubin is. Know that he's an idiot, like a real idiot. And I know that I try super hard to not ad hom people on this channel, like really hard, but Dave Rubin is an actual idiot. Like,
I think most people would agree he deserves that.
Okay, yeah. I mean, look, like, people can come for me, like, on it. I would
gladly defend that. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I understand that there's a little bit of conflict when I'm out here, like, come on, we got to empathize. But, like, at some point, it's like, dude, come on, man. Like, I don't have empathy for somebody who's going to get out here, get paid as much as he does. As he said, I get paid to tell people my opinions. Like, you know what? If that's your job, homie, then I'm going to rip your opinions down, and they're yours. Yeah. Like, and you can take that personally. You can take that to the bank. That's fine with me. So, anywho, a little bit of fun for the end there. Yeah, a little bit of fun at the end. So,
you know, but always remember that the election is a scary time.
Yeah, but you know. Yeah, exactly. So
we're going into a flashpoint. The intelligence agencies are telling us.
Right.
I can't stop thinking about it. It's actually terrible. It's like it's been an obsession of mine ever since it's been like pretty clear since however long, the beginning of the year, I've been saying this, that the election is going to be a very, very, very difficult time for us. And
yeah, it's
prepare for that.
It's going to be really rough, man. It's going to be really rough. And
we'll do a deep dive on the election on that next Wednesday.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Oh, well, I hope somebody learned something from all of this.
Yeah.
I hope that y'all enjoyed the show today. It's definitely like we're, you know,
know your enemy. That's a good one. Know your enemy. That's the moral.
Yeah, definitely. Know your enemy. Know that we as leftists right now are absolutely facing political persecution. And we need to prepare ourselves physically, emotionally, intellectually, logically for that reality.
And please speak out now before we can. You know, like
yeah, definitely.
Before it's too late, because it very well could be too late.
Yeah, it could. We don't know how much we've got on this. So, anywho, I know that's a bit. This is definitely a little bit darker of an episode, but it's important. It's important stuff. So, thanks, man. Thanks for coming out and doing this one with me.
Of course. I'm always down.
Cool.
Always
yeah.
down.
I was thinking.
Light or dark. I'm good. We got to, you know.
Yeah. Got to do it. And I'm thinking, you know, like, I mean, here, I'll just say it while we're live. I mean, like, I really enjoyed just doing the event co-host regular with you today. So maybe we'll turn this into a little bit more rhythmic of a thing. Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Awesome.
Well, I'll look forward to being on these more than there.
Heck yeah. All right, folks. We will catch you soon. We'll be back. I hope everybody has a pleasant upcoming weekend. Do your best and do not catastrophize too much. We love you and we will see you soon. Peace.